Hello and welcome to me reviewing a movie that without having watched it beforehand. I don't know what this is going to be called. This is the first one. If I film any more of these, that is. Today we're going to be talking about Disney's Tarzan from 1999, which I haven't seen. Obviously, that's the premise of this video. I have seen the sequel they put out that went straight to DVD. Not deliberately or anything like that. I was at someone's house for a few hours and they had a toddler and they'd put it on. They watched it and then rewound it and watched it again. They were on their third viewing when I left. So I've been aware of that in the background 2.5 times. I remember that George Carlin was doing the voice for some old ape in it.
You big blob of swamp gas!
And the other thing I remember about it was that it wasn't very good. I did look up a few details for this on IMDb just to give me a little bit to go off of. The directors were Kevin Lima, who went on to do Enchanted later on, and the other director was Chris Buck, who went on to have a YouTube career doing guitar tutorials, which I'm very impressed by because he would have just been a little kid when this film came out. That's a different Chris Buck. The soundtrack featured songs by Phil Collins. For the voice cast, this is some voice cast actually, I didn't know about this. Tarzan was voiced by Tony Goldwyn, who might be better known to some as being Evil Carl from the film Ghost.
Who's doing that?
And more recently he was in Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer, although who wasn't in Oppenheimer? There was also Minnie Driver, Brian Blessed, Glenn Close, Nigel Hawthorne, Lance Henriksen, Wayne Knight, Rosie O'Donnell, Lily Collins. She would have been unknown then. Maybe she was related to somebody involved in the film. I think at the start of this film we've got this sweeping shot of the jungle to that Phil Collins song. Well, it's Genesis, but that song Land of Confusion. We're thinking, oh, what is this? We've got this lush green while it's going, this is the world we live in. Whoa. So then the picture, it settles down on this coach and there's all these kids getting off because they're on a school trip. The teacher's not a very nice teacher. They're a bit mean. They're a real piece of work, to be honest. And they're voiced by Brian Blessed. And he's there shouting at kids. There's one of them, he's giving them a bit of lip. So he snatches his clipboard off of him and whacks him with it. And then there's this action scene where the coach starts to get swallowed up by this giant megalodon-style python. And one of the kids, who turns out to be our protagonist, one of the kids is called Tarzan, which I believe is short for Tarzipan. He runs up and he growls at this python and he's got this mean presence about him and he scares the python off and he saves the day and they all clap and go, yay! And when it's time to go, Tarzan decides that he's had such a nice adventure that he wants to stay in the jungle to live. And they go, oh, you're sure? You won't be able to come back with us? And he's just like, yeah, I want to live here. And they went, all right, fair enough. And no one's bothered because with this being a Disney film, I expect he's an orphan and his parents died in tragic circumstances. So he just stays there. And they go, well, it sort of fits because he's already wearing a loincloth. So maybe he can just live in the jungle. So yeah, he stays. Shortly after, he runs into these apes and he becomes mates with them. So time goes by. You've got this montage of them up to all their hijinks. And in the background you've got that Genesis song, the one that goes, I can't dance, I can't talk, only thing about... So eventually, after some time, you should see this other sweeping shot of the jungle, and maybe some time's passed by, we'll find out soon, but it's sweeping along, and then you've got that Phil Collins song, I can feel it coming in the air tonight, and it's just sweeping along, just gently. Oh, where's this going, it starts to pan up this tree. Oh, what's up the tree? And yeah, the music continues, I can feel it in this moment, and it's like, keeps going up, and then it shows these adult feet. Whose feet are these? And it keeps showing up. There's shins, knees. The music carries on, and it's going, pen still grows, no stranger to you and me. Dun, 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 dun. And we see him growing up, and it's Tarzipan. And right where the drums started, dun, 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 he jumps off and swings on this vine. He's there swinging through the jungle to that song. He's going from one tree to the next. Doom, I can feel it coming in the dun, 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 dun. And I know that song's on this because I've seen the music video for it. And after that moment, the middle of the film, I think, just drags a bit, where not very much happens. They're just kind of faff around a lot. It just pads out the runtime, really. But then Jane shows up, you know, from the fame of Me Tarzan, You Jane. I presume that is in this film as well. And they're like hanging around, having a laugh. And eventually these hunters show up because they think that Jane's been kidnapped, when really she's just there because her motorbike's broken down and she's looking for the parts. But it takes a long time to get them in because they're in the jungle and it's quite hard for them to get them. These hunters show up and they're a bit menacing, so Tarzan puts all these traps down like on Home Alone, only he hasn't got micro machines because he lives in the jungle. He's just got, I don't know, hazelnuts or fruits and things, and they step on them and they fall over and go right in the air, legs in the air, land on their backs, and it's very, very amusing because of the slapstick comedy there. Swinging tins of Dulux at them, only on vines. The main hunter that's after them, he's actually turns out to be his old school teacher nemesis, Brian Blessed. And then Brian Blessed recognises him and goes, "Tarzan's alive!" And they have this big showdown to that song Sledgehammer, the one that goes and it goes on to go, "You can have a bumper car, bumper." That's Peter Gabriel. Brian Blessed, he's just humiliated after this big scrap, and he ends up running home in those comedy boxers and nothing else. But then Jane decides to stay in the jungle because her motorbike was rubbish anyway, so she wasn't that bothered about fixing it, and she becomes such good friends with Tarzan and all the apes, she just decides to live there. And then the credits go up to that famous song, "Jesus, he knows me and he knows I'm right." So what's my verdict of this film? No one really talks about it or anything, so I guess it's not one of Disney's classics. They did do a sequel to it, but they were making sequels to all of them really, and they were all a bit rubbish. Never as good as the originals. For my verdict of this, I think that if I'm very close with the plot, I think it starts off good, but it really meanders in the middle and nothing happens. I've mostly just skipped over that bit because it was a bit boring, and the character development wasn't very good in that version. So my verdict, I would give it a not applicable out of 10 because I haven't seen it, but if it's close to what I said, it would probably be 5.5 out of 10. Not one of their best, not terrible. But anyway, I did say that it can't be one of their best ones because people don't really talk about that one anymore. So it's probably not one of their classics. The YouTube algorithm's gonna love this one.